always been about that ultimate idea of proletariat, right? It has been about an empowered mass, right? It has always been from the context of the mass. It has always been from the from the eye holes of a mass, from the perspectives of the mass, right? In this context, we like to say that everything that that historically every single fight and every single right that has been fought for the masses has been irrespective of whatever truth or whatever science existed at that very point of time. Whatever goal was set to be achieved at that point of time was for the masses, regardless of what was considered to be truth at that point of time. Which is to say that historically, if it was not given heed, if the science at that point of time or even today has said that physically women aren't as stronger as men, we don't think women or the left in general should make like legislations in that context to say that women should not get enough funding in like sports events, etc. We think regardless of these truths, we think women should be able to actively participate in sports because we think these rights exist regardless of what is considered the truth at that point of time. And we don't think that the implications that these truths have had should be let influence of the people should be let influence the masses or the people. We don't think this is what the left stands for, right? The left, and this brings us to like what the very first constructive that we have in our case today, right? That the left must never waver from its stances or let knowledge influence them, right? The fact that I am pro-choice or that the fact is irrespective of whatever science or whatever updation might come as to whether till what stage a baby is alive in a mother's womb, right? We think that my bodily autonomy and my pro-choice is still and my pro-choice argument still stands, and that stance of mine still stands regardless of the science that exists at that point. We think it's absolutely ridiculous for that science to come and then say that like my choices and my goals and my preferences should now be like influenced by this very science and very updation in science that has come about, because now I know like a baby might be alive at a certain different point of time. We at the left think that we think that the left must not care why we believe what we believe, right? We think what matters is that the only thing that matters is the fact that we do actually believe it, right? And the fact that we do actually believe it is only because the fact that we in our lifetimes have been affected by a certain thing, and that for generations people in our community have been tangibly affected by those things, and that is why we believe in it. Any other philosophical argument or any other scientific like argument to come and try and change our stance would be like completely detrimental to what we stand for, right? And would be like a more like rightist and elitist propaganda to try and tell us like why we believe what we really believe in. Because the only reason why we do is because we've been affected by it, and that's why we make those decisions. And therefore the decisions that we make based on our preferences is always correct and right, and this is why the left should like move ahead with these things, right? But coming to like further this into like our arguments, right? We think that truth can often be detrimental to the left in itself, right? We think that like truth and science and knowledge is always like arbitrary and never really sees in whose side it is, and sometimes it's even biased, but that's a whole other debate altogether, right? But we think that science in itself can sometimes say things that will be detrimental to people in the masses and people in the people who like associate themselves with the left, right? For example, if a certain science comes and tells you like under like genetic technology that certain races are more intellectually advanced and more intellectually evolved, we think that these have like serious ramifications and implications to how the world works, right? We think like accepting these kind of like arguments and accepting these kind of things and making our choices based on these things is validating these sort of societal biases that already exist in our society, right? We think that regardless of the fact that whether this science and whether this genetic revelation that a certain race is more intellectually evolved is absolutely true or not, we think that if the implication of it is that a certain part of society is going to be affected badly by it, and that society is what the society that the left caters to, we don't think the left should buy into these sort of sciences. We think it's absolutely okay to like believe in like whatever you believe in that point of time and deny that deny like those levels of arguments, right? We think this is extremely important. We think that falsehood is essential in today's times to take away and counteract the propaganda from the conservative right? We think that these sort of propaganda always like overarch over any other thing. We think that science, information, and truth can be like not only manipulated but can be propagated and used to their own advantage to make sure that we are once again like entrenched into the sort of oppressed system that we get into, right? That we are told that the choices that we make and the preferences that we have are not right? That someone comes and tells us that our choice is wrong, like and our preferences are not the right preferences to go ahead, because here's like a bunch of like facts and data to show you that like this is not the right way to live, right? We think this is extremely problematic and like gives into the way where we live under like the shadow of a conservative right, and we live under the shadow of the oppressors. I'll take a POI. Can I take one? No. Okay, fine. We think like therefore today like what we've come and told you is that like it is completely okay and it doesn't matter, and the goal of life is not to see where there is truth and where there is falsehood, right? We think the goal of life absolutely is to try and protect the people who are being affected by atrocities and by oppression, right? We think that if these people are being affected by something, then the stance that they take for it is absolutely correct, as long as they are able to still protect themselves from the stance that they take from it, regardless of the real truth in it or the real truth or falsehood in it, right? Because we think that there is no actual tangible ramifications of truth and science in itself. We think that the only tangible ramification that comes out of anything in life today is are atrocities that happen to masses, etc. Are things like masses being affected and being oppressed by people in the name of things like science, in the name of propaganda. Very, very proud to propose.
Am I audible like that?
Yes.
Fine. OG falls out of this debate. The point at which they tell you things like atrocities like wars, etc., are things that are caused because of science. We don't think slavery was caused because they believed that blacks were scientifically below whites. We don't think that people go against others because of science or evidence against them, which is why we see the black movement taking it over the whites, which is why we see that you get equality, because the very fact that people prove that these things are not scientific, and which is why we believe, which is why we need these, which is why we deserve these rights, right? We think at that point of time, they never show anything that comes out of their case really falls out. Before I move on into what this debate is about and bring some context, a couple of rebuttals, right? Firstly, with regard to fighting for the masses regardless of the truth, and the example they give you is women in sports, right, where you see the American football team asking for more funds. The reason they give you is that because people think that women are not as strong as men. That's wrong. The reasoning given for not giving funds for women football teams is because they don't get enough viewership, right? And even if you go ahead and want to go against that and get more funds, we think you can still use truth, right? How can you do that, right? We think you can, the sort of evidence used is like a women football team is gaining a lot of popularity. They're going ahead and winning a lot more competition than the men's football team. These are objective truths that you can still use to go ahead and increase funding for women. We don't think that falls on their side of the house. Secondly, when they come and identify things like pro-choice versus pro-life, we don't think this falls in the ambit of this debate, because the very fact that both of these opinions are extremely subjective. There is no scientific evidence to show you that a pro-life form of opting into a pro-life movement is the scientific way to go, or that pro-life is the right thing because of science, right? And there is no way to show you that pro-choice itself is the right thing because of science. These things are subjective opinions and people are free to choose either of them. It is again not in this debate, right? So finally, what is the context in this debate? We think the context in this debate is about like America or places like that where we see extreme divisive politics, where the optics of the entire left movement is seen as an irrational movement because of certain policies, and that is the sort of thing we believe is a problem on their side of the house. Three arguments that are coming from my side of the house, from our side of the house. Firstly, about how it leads to ineffective policy. Secondly, about how it damages the optics of the left movement. And lastly, about how it affects the most vulnerable people the left is trying to protect, right? No. Firstly, with regards to how it leads to ineffective policy. Understand that the Green New Deal was like seen as an extremely irrational policy by AOC and her entire team because of the very fact they simply wanted to go ahead and leapfrog from our world to another world without giving you any form of proof regarding why this can happen, right? The questions with regards to how can you dismiss current businesses right now? How are you ever going to go ahead and implement these things by just simply asserting that Green New Deal is going to be amazing are questions that the left could never answer, which is why you see even within the Senate you get no vote at all, right? The entire all Republicans in the Senate voted no, and even within the left movement, people who are not part of our team abstain from voting, right? These things are the causes of why people think that the left movement is irrational. How it leads to ineffective policy. When you choose to imbibe the instrumental form of rationality and you choose to achieve that goal no matter what, regardless of what people are going to say, you're still going to try to find a way to make sure that this deal is actually a good deal regardless of the truth. Which means even if you find certain falsehoods, you're still going to try to push this thing. But the matter of fact is that these things cannot happen and questioning is going to happen regardless. So AOC is going to continue pushing for Green New Deal, continue going on platforms like now this talking about this, but there's no tangible change because of the very fact that these things cannot be implemented. Which means on the flip side, when you have an epistemic form of rationality and you question every move, you're more likely going to get realistic, going to come up with realistic goals and realistic policies that actually have tangible change. When you get this tangible change is when you actually affect things that you want to affect. And we don't think Green New Deal is ever going to pass regardless of how much they're ever going to try because there is no way of implementing it, right? Secondly, in terms of the optics of this movement, understand who we are trying to get on this side of the house. We want to gain the votes of the people at the fence. And we think the huge problem right now is that the people at the fence are shifting towards the right, because the right has captured the narrative that the left is indeed a dumb side, right? The left is indeed irrational because they can't ever answer anything properly, right? At that point of time, when Fox News or other media narratives or online communities or forums go ahead and talk against these things, it affects the optics of this movement. Why is the optics of a movement important? The only time people are going to vote in favor of a particular side is when they truly believe that a particular side is important or a particular side is rational, right? We are tackling rational voters and we think these rational voters are more likely going to shift away from the left side because of the very fact that they believe the left is irrational. And that is something we need to go ahead and discuss. Right? At the point at which you don't get these public support, you're never going to go ahead and come up on the top and implement any sort of policy that you want to, right? Secondly, in terms of how it affects, what's the time? Okay. Secondly, in terms of how it affects the most vulnerable people, they try to protect the most vulnerable people in society. They try to protect blacks, they try to protect people from the LGBT community, or things like that. The problem is, understand that it is not only the politicians that we're talking about, it is also the people who are part of the leftist movement, like you and I, who choose to imbibe or be a part of this. We think there's a huge problem in the sort of demographics of the left movement where you see a lot of people going ahead and buying things simply because it is a woke thing to do, simply because it's the right thing to do, and you see this especially in circles like Los Angeles or places like this where people continuously just go ahead and buy these things. How does this become problematic? We think principally people are supposed to be voters based on rationality. That is, you should continuously try to go ahead and question your cognitive biases. You should continuously try to go ahead and question why you support a particular side, and only when you can support a particular side is when you can truly fight for this. The reason we live in a world of divisive politics is because people don't know how to defend themselves. The point at which they don't know how to defend themselves and are just superficially buying into a particular narrative, they are not going to engage with the other side because they can never really come to a middle ground. Because both sides are extremely pushed towards an extreme opinion and they can never really meet a middle ground and actually talk about things. And we think that is how it harms the state of politics in the country right now. We need people to go ahead and we need the left to use epistemic form of rationality to do this, right? Secondly, when you use epistemic form of rationality, you're more likely going to question certain policies that come from the politicians themselves, right? At the point at which you go ahead and question these things, when they realize that as AOC, if I realize that the left movement themselves don't agree with the Green New Deal, I'm I'm more likely going to change because that is my demographic and I need to be more rational regarding these things. We think for all these reasons, we are very, very proud to oppose.
Panel, if we prove to you that the philosophy of the left is in line with the instrumental rationality, we win this debate, right? Two questions that we need to answer. First, where is the world a better place? And secondly, does any of the rationalities give an advantage to the left? We obviously stand with instrumental rationality. But before that, a few point rebuttals to Daniel, right? Firstly, in the case that are like irrational, like let's just seen as an irrational movement due to the policies they want to implement, right? We believe this is extremely wrong way of characterizing the left and the policies that the left necessarily want to implement in the first place. And they take the best example of like AOC's Green New Deal, or like let's take the example of Elizabeth Warren's education plan, right? We believe these plans are executable in the first place, right? The reason that they do not win is because the conservative right necessarily runs a propaganda which is based on falsehood, right? And this is something they do not engage with in the first place. That is, if one party necessarily has the ability to use falsehood as an instrument of like percolating propaganda into the masses and sway the masses to your own side, that is the reason that the masses vote for that particular deal. The reason that a particular deal does not pass a house is because the demographics of that particular house changes in the way that the audience has necessarily bought the propaganda. The reason why like this particular like entire idea of like Green New Deal not passing happens is not because Green New Deal is irrational, right? It's because largely the masses are subjective to propaganda in the first place. They are subjective to like falsehood in the first place, and they are far more likely to buy these things if on a sentimental level you connect with them. Elections are never won on issues. If they were won on issues, BJP wouldn't have 300 seats in the first place, right? But secondly, on the thing like fence shifting towards the right, right? This is a problem in their case, right? They say the fence is shifting towards the right, there's a missing link. Then they assume that the right is necessarily giving you a more rational alternative to the left. The problem with this is that if we prove to you that the right is only using propaganda in order to sway the people, we win this debate. And what is the propaganda that the right uses over here, right? Understand this. India is facing like an economic slowdown on a massive scale right now, right? Despite this, people still feel that the economy is doing well under the Modi government. These are people who are educated and definitely like call themselves centrists, right? And these people necessarily still support the BJP government, not because they are more rational, but because they are susceptible to the propaganda and falsehood percolated via like social media sites or like WhatsApp or all these things, right? At that point, then these people necessarily take away our idea and our power to use falsehood as an instrument to combat the right, which is already winning in the first place. And why is the right winning in the first place, right? The right is winning in multiple areas of the world. That is, in France, they've had an election where the right has gained the most amount of votes historically. In Sweden, they're gaining more traction. In Germany, they're gaining more traction. In India, you have a party with singularly more than 300 seats. We believe the right is gaining more traction, and at that point the left needs to use extreme measures, right? But secondly, what does Purnima tell you? And this is where we get more into a constructive case, right? She tells you what the goal of the left is, right? And we believe that the goal of the left has always been the upliftment of the poor and necessarily spreading equity to the impoverished sections of the society, right? This goal has never changed, right? And even if it changes in line with the self-interest of the people at large in itself, right? It has never changed according to the knowledge that has been gained by science in the first place. Because certain knowledge is problematic, certain truths are problematic, and certain truths necessarily contribute to harm in society. For example, there is necessarily a genetic science that exists in the first place, which may give statements like, blacks are physically superior. Because of these kind of statements that exist, in NFL, for example, blacks necessarily have to take the roles of running backs, right? Which is probably the most short-lived career that you can have in the NFL in the first place, right? Simply because of the belief that, blacks have more stamina and they have more speed, so let's convert, even if he's a cornerback, even if he's a good quarterback, let's convert him to a running back because he's faster than any other running back I can have. whites necessarily become more quarterbacks in the NFL because people believe, and there is like a basic like understanding via statistics in terms of like the college graduation rates, etc., that whites are more intelligent and they can run plays more, right? We believe this kind of segregation that knowledge creates is problematic, and left can never stand for this kind of segregation, regardless of whether in future it is proven to be true or false, right? But secondly, on the point of like Purnima talking about like pro-choice and why this movement is the best example we can give, right? The response to this is there is an ambiguity, so choose your side. We absolutely reject that kind of response, right? Because even if an ambiguity exists today, tomorrow, even if a scientist says that, a fetus is actually alive and becomes a full human when he's like 3 weeks into pregnancy or something, the left still cannot stand for this kind of a statement, right? Because at that point, the left's end goal is necessarily bodily autonomy, the left's end goal still necessarily remains the upliftment of the oppressed classes, in this gender necessarily be the women of the society, right? That is to say, the knowledge is not necessarily in line with the goals of the left. But secondly, is truth and knowledge intrinsic to the left? At no point in time has opening opposition characterized that truth and knowledge is intrinsic to the left, right? They have bought into our arguments that upheaval of society and upliftment of the poor is essential in order for us to necessarily co-opt into the goals of the left. But thirdly, we've proven to you the harms that arise of epistemic rationality, right? That is to say that truth and knowledge are problematic, and the moment you co-opt into these problematic narratives, your policies cannot afford to change. Because the moment your policies change, you dissociate and disenfranchise the people for whom you stand in the first place. For example, when she says that there's a common belief, or like science says that women are physically weaker, she doesn't mean that US football team is paid less, right? She means that this propagates a stereotype into the society which necessarily feels that men can overpower women and treat them however they want, largely because they feel that women cannot counter-react, right? We believe this kind of belief that is propagated by knowledge and truth is something the left abjectly needs to deny, right? The left can claim falsehood as a weapon. Falsehood is a good enough weapon. I'll be closing.
At the point of which the thesis is hinged upon the idea that you have to have a stronger counter narrative or falsehood towards the right to win that sort of thing. How do you prove that the left has a stronger counter narrative?
Okay, the only way we can know whether we can have a stronger counter narrative is when we tackle one kind of extremist narrative with other kind of extremist narrative. That is how you achieve middle ground, that is how you achieve discourse in the society, right? The moment at which one kind of extremist propaganda is tackled, is bombarded with opposite extremist propaganda, people come at a middle ground. That is to say, most of the economies are a mixed economy in the world, right? That is largely because there is a necessary clash between socialists and clash between capitalists, right? Which gives us things like affirmative action and free market together existing in multiple countries in the first place. This kind of clash is necessarily lacking in their paradigm when left goes for the truth and left goes for knowledge and necessarily shuns away from propaganda because they want to sit on this elitist moral high horse that we stand for the truth, right? Firstly, they need to prove that truth does any good for the left, right? We do not believe truth does any good for the left in the first place. Understand the world that we're living currently is ridden with propaganda regardless of whether we choose to abide by it or not, right? And thirdly, we believe we've objectively shown you as to why falsehood is a good enough weapon. Incredibly proud to standing open government.
We're not sure why the strategy of the left should always be what they've been historically doing. A, we think we reject the characterization that they give you, that the left has always been someone who's rejected falsehoods, right? The being on the left has also been about being true to what you believe in, that arguing rationally that religion doesn't matter, we must still treat everybody equally. Arguing rationally that irrespective of race, saying one race is better than the other, there is still objective reality to believe that all human beings should still be treated, right? rejecting the fact that no matter what science comes out, that when life is conceptualized as a pro-life or pro-choice paradigm, it's still a woman's bodily autonomy to have the right to choose. These are epistemic values that the left has always historically gone ahead and defended, right? It's not true that the left has been someone who's always had falsehoods or always used propaganda or always used falsehoods to go ahead and achieve their end goals. Even if it's true, this debate is not about whether it's always been like this, therefore it should be preserved. This debate is about what is the strategy that the left must use to have their end goals met in the current political climate that exists today. And even if they talk about the Indian left and Indian right, or an American left, or in terms of a global left, we think the strategy of the left to go ahead and demonize the right as they do, by saying all rightist people are people who go ahead and spread falsehoods, or people who go ahead and have evil propaganda against the left, is something that the right uses to say that is detached from reality. Because there's a lot of actual intellectual criticism of the kind of policies the left goes ahead and places. It's all basic questioning about how can you achieve this Green New Deal, is it the correct way, or why is the climate that important? The introspective answer that the left must have to be able to answer these fundamental questions as to why is this the best way to achieve a climate end goal? Why is this the best way to go and achieve an end goal in terms of reducing inequality? These are fundamental introspective questions that the left is lacking in status quo, and these are the kind of soundbite the right uses to go and entrench the propaganda that these people are so worried about. That you have these Ben Shapiro owns this leftist. Ben Shapiro or these people or the conservative people go and target people in college campuses because these people don't have the introspective value to defend the kind of values that they want to defend on the left in their paradigm itself. This is the kind of propaganda they have a problem with, right? And I think this uniquely is solved only in our case, right? Targeted rebuttal towards them. They say that the Indian right and they propagate falsehood, right? And they say because the right does it, the left is also legitimate to do it, right? We're really not sure how this is a principled case. Even the fact that they say the right doing it is something that is bad, why should the left go and do this? And even if they do this, how is it ever going to not create an echo chamber or not create a polarization that has existed in status quo? It makes things far, far worse when both sides go ahead and demonize each other, right? At the point of time, you have a rationality or a metric of rationality that causes both people to engage in one paradigm. Is at the only point of time you have concessions from both sides to be able to create a common end goal, work towards something, or at least debate each other intellectually, honestly, right? We think that's the kind of thing that they don't engage in, right? They say the fight has always been irrespective of the truth, right? It's not true, right? They give an example of socialism and things like that. We think it's not true that even though the right said it's not true that the socialistic state is feasible in terms of what the left wants to achieve, the correct response from the left should not be, even if it's true or even if it's false, we're going to go ahead and push for it, which happens in their paradigm, but rather defend their claims and be in a way in which an average voter is convinced to vote for them rather than for the right. That is, you have reasons or use epistemic rationality that is grounded in reality to go ahead and say these are the claims and these are the reasons why these claims are important. These are the reasons why affirmative action and equality for all is something that's necessarily justified, right? And these things are not things that are foreign, except these things are something that the left has forgotten to do, right? These intellectual tropes and the kind of literature that exists on the left can actually provide criticism and answer to all the questions on the right. But this is something that the left has forgotten to do or is no longer prioritizing in status quo, which is why they go ahead and appease or use people like AOC to use things as instruments to certain end goals. And I think that is something that is painted badly. What is the calculation that they don't respond to that comes out from Daniel's piece, right? Please sit down. We think the right criticizes the left from being detached from reality or not grounded in facts, that your facts don't care about your feelings and these things, right? We think they paint the left as people who care about being more morally correct than factually accurate, right? We think the problem with this is the degree to which the kind of instances that fall this are things like the Green New Deal, things like saying free college for all, etc., except they don't really justify why that's an important end goal. These justifications are lacking in status quo, right? And I think epistemic rationality is something that goes and gets us to these ends, right? What are the kind of things that we're talking about, right? We think candidates like Andrew Yang, who explains why his UBI or how his universal basic income is going to play out, right? These are candidates who go ahead and have traction on a bipartisan level. That people are going ahead and believing this individual regardless of his political spectrum because he can justify his claims to some degree. And here's why they don't respond to Daniel's analysis about the most vulnerable stakeholder. At the point of time, you have evidence of the fact that there's an oppression of black individuals, which is scientific, that is scientific. At the point of time, you have evidence and you have enough framework to which you can show them that this is something that is objectively true and grounded in reality. Is at the point of time you can combat that question and criticism as to why should we do this and how should we do this, right? Within the vulnerable people, you can use evidence of oppression to go ahead and hedge against the fact that the right shows you and there's an imaginary oppression. At the point of time you force individuals on the right to be confronted with reality of status quo, that is in terms of being honest about the epistemic situation that is happening in status quo, is at the point of time you engage them on a rational level, and I think that's something that's lacking in the way in which the left or the Democrats go ahead and have strategy in status quo, right? We think how does epistemic rationality solve this problem, right? We think there are three main end goals that we are talking about. We think it creates a more informed interface where people are more happy to defend the kind of beliefs that they believe in, right? We think people on the left have more information to defend their opinions. At the point of time they introspect as to why the climate is important, why equality is important, irrespective of race, size and things like that. We think examination of these beliefs and being able to defend yourself at the point of time you're criticized is something that's important because it cuts away from the kind of conservative propaganda or conservative soundbites that they're talking about in their paradigm. Before I continue, yes.
So why do you think people like Ben Shapiro have become popular?
We think, we think the main extension that's going to come out of closing is about the right is not going to care about your sides. They're just going to still demonize you, and they're going to paint you in a picture that you're even though what you're saying can be backed up by fact, they still won't care about you, right? This debate is not about extremists who are never going to change their opinion or never going to give you a fair chance about what is rational and what is not rational. This debate is about how do you better convince the friend figure at the point of time the right has soundbite to say that these people don't know what they're talking about. These people use religion in one instance and they use some other ideology in one instance to go and instrumentalize their end goal. They're seen as hypocrites, as people who don't have any legitimacy or legitimate claims to anything because they can instrumentalize any ideology to go ahead and justify an end goal. That exists in their paradigm as well. At least in our paradigm, we are able to convince an average voter that this left also has integrity in terms of the kind of science that they talk about, the kind of claims that they make can be backed up, and this sort of thing is something that convinces an average individual voter to be able to vote for the left at the point of time their policies are sound and can actually translate into concrete benefits for these people in this particular situation, right? We think given the fact that we are the only side in this debate who have proven to you so far that this is a better political strategy for the left to be able to engage a voter, to be able to create more population, we're the only side that are able to push any sort of leftist policies that can help the most vulnerable people in status quo. For all these reasons,